Okay, so while Derek's getting all set up, this is an unusual meeting today. It's usually the monthly meeting of WordPress webmasters from SIR, and today's topic is much more general interest than the usual deep techie stuff that the WordPress webmasters get into. Derek's going to talk with us about a recent implementation of artificial intelligence in terms of ChatGPT, which is a tool that's available on the web. And he's also going to introduce us to some other tools, because they're not just an academic exercise anymore. The tools are finally reaching the point, artificial intelligence has been a year away from ready for a couple of decades. But I think that Derek will demonstrate to us that there are some things that mere mortals like us can actually begin to use it for.
So let me explain. I've got a curiosity factor, and I love to explore new stuff. My background is in chemistry, and from there I got into marketing. So if I can make this stuff work, I think anybody can. So nobody should feel that it's out of reach. So that's my first comment. Secondly, why am I sharing this? Well, Alan has mentioned that this artificial intelligence has really improved in the past few decades. And I think there's potential here for SIR to do better marketing and a few other things. And that's what I would like to share with you. And I kind of regard it as if you like, an educational service, bringing this sort of thing up so we can get on it. Is it too early to consider using these artificial intelligence things? I'm going to call them chat bots, because that sounds more friendly. I don't think it's too early. In the last few months, for example, there was a new chat bot introduced. In the first 3 days, 1 million people signed on to use it. In the past 5 months, I read there's 100 million people trying to use this program. And the one I'm going to talk about today is basically one called ChatGPT. And if you do a Google search or a Bing search or one of the searches in the literature, you're going to see an enormous amount of stuff about it. Some is positive, some is negative. And one of the things I'm going to do today is explain why some negatives come up and why it's very positive as well. Back in the old days, I think it was 1989, I came out to California from New Jersey as a marketing guy. And one of the first things I wanted to do was do some sales forecasting for my products. Back then I used a spreadsheet, and I don't mean on the computer, I mean a piece of paper that was ruled, and it was an eraser and a pencil, and you could do some sort of analysis using that. Then I heard about Apple II Plus and a product called VisiCalc, and suddenly computers became very useful. So I bought one, and since then I've been teaching myself. I don't have one single IT program ever. I don't have a degree in IT or anything like that. So I'm self-taught. So when I make mistakes, they're my own mistakes. So let's get on to the second slide. This presentation today is going to cover how AI works, focusing on ChatGPT, some things that other people are using it for, how it could help us, who of us should use it, and some examples. And with the way we've started out, I'm saying hopefully with a live demonstration. But if things go to hell, as they have a habit of doing when you go live, I've got a couple of pages of illustration that I can show you. So the first chatbot was created somewhere around 1966, and it was called Eliza. And it got a bad reputation. Chatting with Andy today, he told me they thought it was going to be the be-all and end-all for medical research and for doctors, for doing diagnosis and things. Turned out that people didn't buy into that, and it was very limited. For example, if you told it you had a conversation with a friend and it made you angry, it would just feed back to you, why do you feel angry? Because what it was doing was taking one keyword from the input you'd just given it, and then it would ask a question based on that keyword. So it wasn't very intelligent. But that was the first way this AI stuff started in conversational chatbot media. Today, with something like the ChatGPT, it draws from billions of words, not just the few that we type in, but apparently there's 300 billion words gone into training this thing.
What are you reading?
And the response is still dependent on the input. And please remember, the inputs can be biased or misleading or plain wrong. I sort of look at the difference in watching, let's say, CNN and Fox News on the same story. You get two totally different presentations. Well, if that stuff gets if both organizations put their stuff into something like the chatbot, how is it going to give you an honest answer? Yeah. So what we have to do, and I'm going to repeat it once or twice, we have to be very careful with what we get out of ChatGPT or any other bot, because it can be biased. The material it was trained on was written up to September 2021. So there's nothing really new there. Well, nothing newer than 2021 there. So if you ask it about the latest development in something that it doesn't know about, it'll just say, I don't know. So at least it's honest in that way. So what is ChatGPT? And now I'm beginning to use ChatGPT 3 because there's a ChatGPT 4 that's just been announced in the last few days. It's actually this is the techie stuff. It's a large language model, and it uses probabilities to understand and generate text. The analogy I found was it's like a card counter at the poker table. And just for fun, I used an AI to create a picture of some sirs sitting around a card table playing poker. So maybe it's not the greatest picture ever, but that's what I told it to give me, and that's what it gave me. And if you're a card player and you know how to do it, you can count the cards that have come before, and you can make a prediction about what's going to come. Same thing with these large language models. Because of the statistical background they have, given some words, they can predict the next word, and that's how they create the answers they're going to give us. So it's not just it's not an answer that's based on one keyword that they recognize. It's based on a whole umbrella of things that they've read and they can feed back to. In case you're wondering what GPT stands for, it's G for generating human text or human-like text. It's P for pre-trained. They fed it 570 gigabytes roughly, which is over 300 billion words. And that was updated to September 2021, like I said just now. And T is for transformer, which is a type of neural network. And it generates high quality responses to a wide range of natural language prompts. So you just talk to it. They call this modal. This is one monomodal because you can only interact with it by typing in text. When I talk very briefly about GPT-4, we'll see there's something different coming. So what have people been using GPT-3 for? Well, here's a few things that I found in the literature. Some very simple things like writing posts, drafting captions, drafting legal documents. And I think if Stu's here, he might be thinking, oh God, there goes my job. And he's happy he's retired. But none of these things should ever be regarded as completely error-free. They're very loud. The output is likely to have errors, and it's up to us, the user, to check and make sure it's real stuff. Suggesting layouts for presentations. For example, I said to GPT, suggest a presentation, a structure for a presentation on the use of GPT and where it's going. And it helped me set up this presentation. It gave me an outline that I could work from. It can actually create software or explain software. I read that people are putting in software that doesn't work and asking it what's wrong, and it can look at these the writing stuff that's in the software and make suggestions about correcting it so it does work. And summarizing or rewriting text passages. I've written letters, some of them for public, so others just privately, and I've put it into GPT and said, please rewrite this in a friendly tone and do it in less than 200 words or something. It goes, okay, boom, and there it is. It's a fascinating thing to watch, and I hope that we can do it online shortly. Now, ChatGPT-4 actually allows us not just text, but audio and pictures and video, apparently. It's only come out in the last few days, made public, and at the moment, it's very limited in distribution. You have to be, I think, an enterprise user to get in and find it. But it's coming. The GPT-3 currently has a free version, which is what I'm going to use. GPT-4, I think, is going to be charging something for it on a monthly basis. But GPT-4, and I see we've got Ron Casano, a former Big Sur from Branch 8, who regards himself, or not regards himself, he is one of the wine tasting group founders, and he might be interested to see that you can pass the Master Sommelier theory exams just using ChatGPT-4. And there was also some Master Sommelier theory exams using ChatGPT. Alan, I can hear all sorts of echoes. You're muted, Alan.
I think I got rid of our echo problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there were some people who came on that were echoing and I muted all. So Derek, are you still on?
Yep, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Luckily, thank you. This article came out of a magazine called The Drinks Business. And it was fascinating to see winemakers and people and wine tasters are jumping on artificial intelligence. I thought that was kind of fun. So let's ask the big question. How could using ChatGPT benefit SIR? We might even say, should we be using ChatGPT to help benefit SIR? And since the big problem we have at the moment is with membership, I thought I would just take that as the example. How could ChatGPT help us with marketing efforts? Well, it's great at suggesting topics and contents for promotional literature. I asked it to review how exercise and social contacts can improve the quality of life for seniors. Because we keep on saying in our literature, if you join SIR, we'll keep your mind active, we'll keep your body active, we'll make it social. And I wondered, is there anything in the literature to support it? It turns out there's a ton of stuff. So I told it, write some promotional literature based on the results of the review to focus on attracting different target markets or target audiences. One of the things Andy and I have talked about is how he defines in his branch the types of members that we have. I'll come on to that in a second. And then find some quotes from the literature that's been reviewed to act as supporting statements. Because I always feel if you make a claim, having a supporting statement can really make the claim a lot more, well, A, it makes it visual, B, it makes it more believable. So, and the last one, creating headlines for emails, web pages, and so on. It's really good at doing things like headlines. Just for a little bit of lightheartedness, there's also an AI from the same company. The same company is called AI.com. And if you want to try ChatGPT, you go to AI.com and log in. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. It generates images and art from a text prompt. So for example, I said to it, create an image of sirs playing golf on Mars, watched by several roosters. A crazy sort of picture. You can't find that in the average when you do a web search. I also wanted to see images of seniors in the style of Picasso, Salvador Dali, and Monet. And finally, I said to it, get me some images of bowling, walking, and wine tasting. So let's just have a look-see what they came up with. That's the first example. That's senior golfers on Mars playing golf with roosters watching. Yeah, I don't know if it's any use, but you know, that's what I told it to produce, and there it is. Golf like you've never seen it before. Picasso, Salvador Dali, and Monet. So you can create almost any image you want to in any style. And it's very quick. It only took probably 5 to, well, maybe 10 seconds to create each of those three. Oops, sorry. And for the other activities, bowling, bowling, going for a walk and looking at the view and wine tasting. Nothing startling, but I was just trying to show that you can create an image for any activity or anything you want to show about the branch and why people should be joining SIR. Just tell it what you want, you get it. Okay, so having given an illustration or two about what we can do with the art, let's find out how to get into using ChatGPT 3. First of all, you create an account at AI.com. Currently, it's free. unless you want better support and priority for getting into the program. And then you pay $20 a month for that. Quite often when I've gone into ChatGPT, I log in and it says to me, sorry, you'll have to wait. We're too busy. Well, I think I've mentioned earlier, there's 100 million people joined ChatGPT in the first 5 months. So if you've got a few million of them online, you've got a hell of a lot of computing going on, and their servers are not inexhaustible. So some people have to wait. Today, we may be lucky and get in straight away. On the other hand, we may not. There's only one way to find out, really. Okay, so you've got an account. When you go to it, you log in, and then you add a prompt, which is your question. And at the bottom of the screen, you type in your prompt. It thinks about it and generates the answer. What I found was if I just hit enter at some stage, I was saying something like, please summarize the following report or message. And I hit enter to give a space, so I'd have some room. It immediately started working and said, you'll have to give me some input. I can't work with what you've told me. So, and I found out that if you use Shift Enter, or the equivalent on a Mac, you can make a space and then add your material you want the chatbot to work with. Let's see. The second thing is let's use ChatGPT effectively. 2 little warnings. It's for exploration, not instant productivity. So if I ask it to generate a message for Big Sirs on, let's say, the new COVID precautions or something like that, don't take that output immediately and send it out. It could be wrong. We have to explore it, make sure it's correct. In almost every case I've generated an article, I've had to edit it. And the second thing is use it for brainstorming, not truth seeking. I mentioned earlier there could be a bias in the input that was given because who knows who put it in? Yeah, was it CNN? Was it Fox News? Was it the London Times? Or was it the New York Post? They've all got different views of the same thing. So you may get a different version of the truth as other people see it. I love it because if I want some ideas, it gets my mind out of the box. I can think outside the box. I get some great ideas just by playing with ChatGPT and asking questions. So start with a good prompt because better questions mean better output. In fact, what I said to ChatGPT was, please give me suggestions for better prompts. And these are some of the things it came up with. Be clear and concise. Give a detailed example, like, can you suggest some tips for organizing a small closet with limited space, rather than just saying, what's the best way to reorganize my closet? Or give me a brief overview of the latest electric car models, rather than just saying, tell me about cars. The more specific you are, the better the answer is going to be. But please remember, it was trained with material written before September 2021. So if you're looking for the latest electric car model, you're probably going to see the September 2021 latest car model. You can't guarantee it's the newest. So you have to be just a little bit careful with reading what they've given you. And I think I said earlier, or I implied, the chatbot doesn't think for itself. I've seen some very negative press about ChatGPT. The reason being people have gone in and put in some strange stuff, asked it very strange questions, put in some really poor information, and all it does is reproduce it. So what it is a big prediction engine. It's working on statistics. It is not intelligent. It can bring you some things you haven't thought of. So they would be new ideas to you, but they're there in the literature if you can find them. One way of describing the weakness of Eliza, the one I talked about, the initial chatbot, was it only responded to one single keyword. And the keywords you put in tended to reflect you, and your answers reflected yourself. And the analogy they used was it was a mirror, and it was looking at what you were rather than contributing anything new. Well, with ChatGPT, it's got so much data available to it. It's like having a mammoth mirror or millions of mirrors. So it's no longer just giving us a view of one person. This is giving us a view of a lot of input that's being put into it. So let's see. This is something that's fun, I think. Yeah, that's working anyway. This is a DALL-E example of Superman, and that's what it produced. And with the animation, I thought that was quite neat. Okay, so let me get out of there. But first, we've gone this far. Let's see if there's any questions that I can answer initially. I've gone through a lot of stuff. Okay, let me, while I'm finding a new share, please don't hesitate, speak up.
So Derek, your information that you've been presenting so far, you can go to the AI.com website and download the ChatGPT software onto your computer, or I don't even know if you can put it on your iPhone or whatnot, but on, say, your PC computer, and then from there you can continue on in the recommended ways that you had just mentioned about how to prompt it and do things like that.
Yeah, it's actually in the cloud. You don't download anything. And I wouldn't like to download the huge database behind it.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you.
It would take quite a while, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's available. I haven't tried it on my cell phone or on my iPad, but I imagine it works just as well.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see this one. Okay, do you see that?
Yes. We're good.
Do you see write a promotional piece? Let me do that again.
Yes, yes, we do. We see write a promotional.
Yes, we see that.
Okay, well, this is a question I put to it. This was my prompt. Write a promotional piece to attract each of the model seniors described as, and I hope Andy doesn't mind here, active Andy, passive Peter, and loyal Larry. It's a sort of way of classifying how members in a branch might behave. Active Andy is very active, volunteers to do leadership. You find him in more than one activity, comes to the luncheons, contributes strongly to the branch. And those are the sort of guys that we really need in every branch, because one of the things we're not getting enough of is people who volunteer and get into leadership. So I thought, let's create these three. In marketing, we call them persona. To understand the audience, if we create a few persona, we can get a feeling for how they think and what they want and what they would be attracted by. So how would we attract these people? So this is the few the words that the GPT came up with for attracting active seniors. The next one down is for passive Peter. He'll come to the occasional luncheons. He'll sort of do a few activities, but he wants something relaxed. He's probably not terribly interested in anything strenuous and energetic. And the idea here is, and this is exactly what the ChatGPT wrote. Our branch offers a range of activities, and I wanted it to emphasize activities in any of these answers. And I gave ChatGPT some of the activities most branches have. So it used walking, book clubs, bridge, and so on. And then the appeal to them. In most of these, I added to it, come to our wearesir.com website to find out more and to find out how to join.
Derek,
Yes,
before going on, Herb Slusser has a question for you. Herb,
Herb, go.
you have to unmute, Herb. Hitting the space bar.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay, you generated three personas. Does ChatGPT have a specific way of generating a persona?
No, I had to feed it some information and then asked it to create personas that fitted to those descriptions.
So you said Active Andy is this kind of person,
Yes,
and it just okay.
yeah. And then it worked with it, and because I'd also fed it some the surveys from the science, for some what I'd asked it for was to review the literature on how does social and physical activity help seniors. So I had several bits of information in the background, and what ChatGPT does is remember that during the session that you're having, and then it can feed that back into the answers you're asking for.
Can you store that information in such a way that you don't have to re-enter it every time you have a session?
They claim they don't save any of it, but the other thing they say when you read the instructions are don't put anything in that's sensitive or very private. So I suspect there is some memory involved there as well.
Hey, Derek, another question, which is probably toward the end of this would be better, but is there any copyright issues for photos, text, or other uses that this ChatGPT 3 can find and use for you, but is it going to conflict with potential copyright laws and whatnot?
They say not. They say you're free to use anything you generate, but a number of artists and so on are complaining that their style being copied is infringing on their rights. So I've made sure to stick with people like Picasso and so on, who are no longer here to complain. Okay.
Right.
Right. Let me see. I've got something else to share here.
Where you're at Larry, you're at Loyal Larry.
Derek, you had one question from Jay James.
JJ, go ahead.
Yes, Derek, in regards to the account, is it just straightforward, fill in the blanks to get the branch signed up?
That's all you need to do, yes.
Okay,
I forget
Thank
how
you.
long it took me. I think it was less than a minute.
okay. Thank you.
It's real simple. Okay, Loyal Larry, he's the guy who'll come to the luncheon meetings either fairly regularly or more often than some, but he's not terribly interested in activities. So you need slightly different words maybe to attract these three different sorts. And I did tell ChatGPT to write me a promotional piece that covered all three bases. So if you were doing this, if you're looking for the active guys who are going to be good leaders or more likely to be good leaders, I would say go with this one, the active Andy, because they're the ones we need the most urgently. Okay, let me find another thing to show you.
Derek,
Yes.
just a reminder that you need to have your mic closer to your mouth.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I did also ask it why seniors don't join organizations as much as men used to. I wondered if it would have any really great new ideas. And this is what came out. I don't think we can argue with any of these statements it came up with, but I don't think there's anything that in SIR that we haven't said before. We have, retired men today have different priorities. One of the questions that I was asked earlier on before I showed this to you was, why am I using the word retired sometimes and seniors on other occasions? I tend to treat them as almost equal words. I much prefer active seniors or seniors because I'm then thinking of people 55, 60 plus, whereas retirement to a lot of people means 70, 75 or something these days. And since we're trying to get younger people, I prefer that phrase active seniors. So that changing priority, technology, retired men or active seniors may be more likely to connect with others online. Mobility, people our age travel more, so it's more difficult to commit to regular meetings. Lack of time, we may be busier in retirement. Perceptions of the organizations. This, I think, might be one of the key ones, of course. Retired men, active seniors, may view organizations as outdated and unappealing. So my question from that, it says, aha, that's a negative that we, sir, have to overcome. How can we make our organization and our local branches more active and be more updated? So, that's a great question. And I think that's something the state organization could maybe produce some advice. And then there's there's a combination of factors. That's good old space filler. Let me find another to share. That was that one. 3 persona. What's this one? Let me just look at that one. Oh, that was what that was. When I asked it about giving suggestions for better prompts, this is what ChatGPT recommended. Be clear and concise. You've already seen the screen, but this is what I got the short form from for the PowerPoint. Provide examples. And there's the one about the closet. specific language like the cars, that was where I got that from. And although GPT is capable of answering a wide variety of questions, it may not give you detailed responses to very complex or very technical questions. So there are some limitations. GPT-4, the new version that came out this week, basically, may be not suffering from those limitations. So now I'm going to take courage in both hands and see if I can show you. Well, first of all, I'll show you a little video first. Where's the video? That one. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. This was I recorded a screenshot from my computer and I went to open. Hang on, I'll show you where I started. That was too quick. Sorry, it keeps running if I don't stop it properly. I went to chat.openai.com and I'm told that that's the best way to get in at the moment. And that's where you should probably go rather than the ai.com to sign up. If one doesn't work, please try this one, chatopenai.com. When you've got an account, and when you go there and start, this is what you're going to see. It says, first of all, stand by while we check your browser. I think it wants to make sure you're using a compatible browser. It also then says to you, welcome, log in with your account. So I logged in with my account. So that was that. And let me go back a fraction just to show you what it was doing. So this is the page you'll see initially. Kind of blank here on the left-hand side in the black, and this white rectangle at the bottom. That's going to be important in a second. You have to watch some little messages from them first. And then ChatGPT, it gives you a few of the examples people have done. You can try putting that in. I put in, what do you know about Sir? As a quick test. And watch what happens. Well, it looks like Sir means something else to it, right? Maybe I wasn't precise enough. So let's go to the bottom of that. And then let's put in something a little more specific. It tries to fill in the words. It's trying to guess what your next word is sometimes, not always correctly. So what do you know about sons in retirement? See if that's better. Isn't that a lot better? It was very good. This is real time. I'm not speeding it up or anything like that. That was as I recorded the screen. And it can only, respond to you. So I'm going to go back. I want to show you this. And I stop it there. Yeah. It only responds to what it knows up to September 2021 about Sir. I found it, for example, saying it found an earlier version in the literature somewhere that we had 20,000 members and 140 branches or something. Well, that was true then, not true now. But you know, you can ask these simple questions and it'll give you as good an answer as it can. Okay, now let's see if I can do that live. And this is, hang on, Control Q to get out of there. And let's see if this is going to work this time. I'm bringing up in the background. Let me share this screen, and if you'll see all the errors I make. So let's bring up screen. Which one is this? This one, I think. I think this is going to be the one. Now, hang on one second. I'm going to make it easier for myself. Sorry. And share this screen. Okay, can you see this now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, this is my live screen at the moment. So I'm using Edge, the Microsoft browser. And I've got up here AI, and I've got a chat open. And it came to the chatopenai.com. So I click on that. Let's see if we get lucky. Oh yeah, so far so good. So log in. This is fingers crossed, chaps. Oh, it's slow. Okay. And continue. Okay, so this is live at the moment. So would anybody like to pose a question? You've been very patient with me. Here's your chance to put in a question and see what comes out. Alan, would you like to just have a go?
Can you write an article for my monthly newsletter from the Big Sur?
Okay, let me see if I can do that. So, right. Oop. We'd have to feed it a little bit more information. Let's say to branch, what's your branch?
62
To branch 62.
from the Big Sur or president.
Yeah. Oop, I can't.
You might want a topic, Herbert Eber.
Introducing lunch speaker or something. How about
There you
that?
go.
And you want to mention that it's Sir Branch 62.
Yep.
Unless that makes me a disease.
It's not contagious. Okay, so having put that there, let's just say enter and see what it happens. Wow, it's working. How about that?
That's great. Now I need to get Sarah Johnson.
Yeah. Well, fill in the blank. What I do now, and this is a hint that you'll find useful, I think. What I do is to do anything with it, I would select everything down to there, Control C, copy it, and I've got a program that's called Notepad or Notepad++. I would create, can you see it at all?
Yes.
Okay, so Control N for a new thing, Control V to paste, then Control A to select it, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to put it back into Word.
Derek.
Yep.
Tell them why you're doing that.
Yep, 1 second.
Okay.
That's exactly what I want to do. Control V. And let me, if I bring it over, I doubt if you can you see that Word document?
Not yet.
Yeah, yes, now.
Okay. What I'm going to do is make it easier to read. So Control A, I'm going to turn it into Lato 22. I'll put it size 20. What I found is, sorry, I'll hold the microphone closer. What I found is if I copy and paste directly from, let me just move that over there. If I copy and paste directly from here, this is the ChatGPT output. It puts these paragraphs into little boxes. And when you start editing them or trying to make nicer looking, the whole thing goes to pieces. So what I do is, having copied it into this notepad, putting it into notepad and then taking it out gets rid of any what's the best word for that, Andy? I had it with you earlier.
Well,
Formatting.
yeah,
Formatting.
Yep, formatting.
Gets rid of any formatting, because I believe this stuff from ChatGPT will have all the HTML formatting going in there, and that can screw up how it looks when you try and put it into plain paper. So I go into Notepad, put it in there, and then save it as a plain text file. And I copy it and go into Word. And there's the Word. Now I can go and edit it. So instead of Sarah, maybe it was Jane.
so in summary, what you have to do is to go from the formatted output of AI to some program that will allow you to output to text, or what's known as known as plain text.
Yeah.
And then when you paste plain text into Word, you're now got the Word formatting.
And I'm gathering that the edit clear formatting command in Word does not do that.
I've used that. I've used it that way. Yeah, Heber.
That should work too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Fernando. You know, the next version of Office 365 is going to have IA in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint.
Yeah.
So it's going to do a lot of this for you directly.
Yep.
Yeah. Rather than me talking all the time, we've got, I know at least one of you there has been playing with AI and ChatGPT. Where are you, Jim? Oh, there you are, Jim. Would you like to tell the folks what you did for your branch?
You want to take this down?
Good thinking.
Hi, Derek. Do you happen to have a copy of that report that I sent you here a while back on how we used Chat GPT?
You sent me an email, right?
As I sent you a document, I can pull it up here. Don't know if you can screen share from my screen or not.
I'll make you a co-host and you can.
Okay. Hang on here just a moment.
Yeah, actually, Jim, it was you who sent me the stuff about the master sommelier.
Yes.
And you also talked to me about your what was it, the whether to use Access or
Excel.
Excel.
Yeah.
This is a report I wanted to share with you. This is something I think most of us can relate to. Our BEC has been struggling for more than a couple years about what platform to use for our less than 300 members to manage all of our member data in our database. And it has gotten to the point here recently where our BEC has divided into two separate camps. One camp thinks we should use MS Access, and the other part of our BEC is leaning more to using Excel with constant contact. And we've had some really not heated discussions, but there's been some discussions you normally don't hear at a BEC meeting between these two camps. So here a couple of weeks ago, I thought, well, I wonder what ChatGPT thinks about this whole thing. So I asked a question for a senior nonprofit organization who has approximately 300 members to manage. What database would you recommend, MS Access or Excel Constant Contact? And it wrote me a report. And it was nothing that we didn't know, but it was interesting how this AI app knew exactly the direction they thought we should go. And we used that to help reinforce and make everyone more confident in the direction that they were leaning towards. I think the report is coming up right here where you can see it. One thing I think when you're using ChatGPT, when you go up to in your question area, what I should have said here is write me a report on Excel or MSS Access. That way I would have gotten a more lengthy document. I would have gotten more content. If you're a student, you could say, write me a thesis. If you're an author, you could say, write me a book. And whatever you ask them to do, it'll give that to you in that format. If you don't specify it, it's going to give you, like in this case here, it came out looking more like an executive summary, as you can see. But real solid, good advice. Alan Baker, I think you've seen this, and I think most of us agree that of the two things we're looking at, this generally makes sense to what AI is coming up with as far as a conclusion. But this is a real life example of things we're confronted with. And as SIR leaders, you got to resolve certain things. And this is just another tool. When I saw this, I thought to myself, this is a game changer. This is something that this is in a very early stage of development. And as this gets more refined and we know how to use it better, it's going to be a big part of our decision-making process.
So speaking up relative to that, if you want to see what ChatGPT might look like when it gets more available, go to Google's homepage, and up will come search question, and you can type in the search question, or you can hit the microphone to the right and ask your question there. And Google will then come back and give you on your screen the answer to your question. And below it will be some in-depth questions you might have asked if you were more knowledgeable. And you click on those and you go deeper. And then it'll give you some more. And if you want more information, you click again and it goes even deeper. And the question about copyright, eventually it will actually bring up the copyrighted articles from which it thought you would get the most information. And I've been using that to better understand things. And you can bring up questions off the wall. Things. One of the things I was interested in is what's a walk? You hear it in the press all the time, good and bad. And so it gave me a full explanation in one paragraph of what a walk was. And then as I clicked deeper and deeper, it got into much more detail. Another thing that we've been using it for relative to SIR, and I've been working with Derek, and Derek has a ton of stuff we've done for SIR that we're trying to consolidate and get out to the branches. But I lost my train of thought there, but it has to do with, well, what do younger people younger than 70 want in a new branch, or not a new branch, but in a organization they would join? What are they looking for in their organization? And it comes out with an article of what younger people are attracted to today. And when I say younger people, I mean 50 to 70. And it comes out in a toxin. And so what we're trying to figure out from a SIR perspective is how do we get that information to the branches so that when they go out to talk to people, they're using the right words and bragging about the great stuff we have that matches the needs of that audience. For example, there's just a ton of really good stuff. And so Microsoft has invested about $4 billion into OpenAI that made this product. Google also is invested in OpenAI, and it's a race. And the article that I read that was most meaningful was in the Mercury News here, where they talked about what's changing in computing. And Derek used this example, just like VisiCalc made suddenly computers for everybody have a meaning. Suddenly I could do spreadsheets I did in paper, or I could do lists I used to do in notebooks. This looks like OpenAI or ChatGPT, which is an implementation of OpenAI, will take the next leap up in computing. And there's lots of, if you go to any of the Computer History Museum documentation, there's lots of questions about it. It's not so good with gender. It's not so good with race. They're biased. It's to be blunt among us all, it's a white male or database. And so they're trying to broaden that so the learning and the resources available to it are there. But go to Google and just hit the microphone and ask them a question. It will convert your voice into the question, and it will then go out and do what you asked it to do. Unbelievable.
I think that means it's GPT-4, Andy, because that has the multimodal entry.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's see. Mike Garrett has asked, explain why the luncheon meetings at Sons in Retirement are more important than the activities. So
I thought it would be a question to ask GPT.
Okay, hang on 1 second. And let me see if I can. I've got too many things open. So let me look at 1 sec. If I share, and I share this. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Okay, there's the question you wanted asked. I hit the little up arrow. Oh, this does sometimes happen. I think maybe I've used up too much memory or something. The way I get around it is I pull out of AI, I open it again, and it goes through the process. You'll find this happens fairly often. I think it's because there's so many people at the time. And let's put that back down here, Control V. And let's see if we can make that work. So there's what it's telling us. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
So there's your answer, Mike.
Good advice.
Yeah.
So Derek, in the left-hand column, you have a list of what might be questions you've asked in the past.
Yes.
Isn't that the answer to, is there any memory?
Maybe it's only on my computer. Let's see, for example, let's take attracting active seniors and see if it comes up with anything. I don't normally go back. Oh yeah, there we are, look. So it does remember the questions I've asked and the answer it gave. So for everybody, I asked for a 300-word article to attract new members that explains how exercise and social contracts can improve the quality of life. And I wanted it to include fun while making friends for life and add life to your years. So with that set up, there's the answer. The nice thing about this is you can copy and paste as I showed you, then you can edit the hell out of it. And if you find something you like, you can use it. If you don't like it, delete it and try again. It's free. I like it. Oh, and it does say down at the bottom, I didn't point this one out, regenerate the response. So I don't know if it'll work. Let's have a look. Yeah, okay, it took that same question and now it'll give us a slightly different answer. So you do this a few times and you've got a lot of input. Unfortunately, I've got so many inputs, it's a hard job now to go through and sort them out. But I hope you all get the idea that this is powerful, it's flexible, and useful.
One of your slides early on talked about applicants taking the law boards.
Yes.
And I remind people what it took the law boards for the question, and what percentage of the people got into law school?
1 sec, see if I can find that one. I've forgotten the exact data.
So it has this great repository of memory, and with the right questions, it can go out and retrieve that. So it's part of among other things, is a search engine, if you will, with the ability to write something really legible.
Yeah. It scored can you see that? It scored 163 on the LSAT, high enough to get entry to a top 20 law school.
And you wonder why people are getting really scared. I don't know, in the Mercury News, they have a story a day about this. And the teachers are up in uproar because the kids in high school have found it and they're writing the essays for school submittal. And now what do you do? And there's even another, I think these people have also written a package that will read a document and say whether it was created by AI.
Yeah, I don't know who wrote that. I think it was a student did it as an exercise, or maybe a teacher. But I think there's a lot of potential here for SIR. And I'm glad you were here, Andy, because as the marketing director, or whatever the new title is, your job seems to be to coordinate all the various information we have, make sure we're all saying the same sort of thing from the same hymn sheet. Maybe you'd like to elaborate a little bit as to why you think this sort of thing can help us.
Oh, wow. You're asking me to do this ad hoc.
Of course, you normally do, and you do it so well.
For those of you who have been in sales and marketing, it's very hard to develop a promotion if you don't know who your target market is. And one of the things we've talked a lot about is the need for leadership. And one of the conclusions the board has come to is that leadership comes from those members who are particularly active in our branches. And if we don't have particularly active members in our branches who want to volunteer to be leaders, how do we go outside to begin to get those? So we're trying very hard to come up with ways to get words out to all the branches as to who we are, what we're doing, where we're headed, what the plans are for this year and next year, and be very positive in that. And so one of the things Derek's done, he took 14 questions about SIR that have come up in other meetings and asked ChatGPT to answer those questions. And then he took the answers to the questions and asked ChatGPT to summarize those into one good paragraph. And I guess one of the things I learned from all of this is I didn't learn a lot from it. It didn't go out and find a lot of stuff I didn't already know. what it did was really summarize it beautifully and put it in great English and made a lot of sense on high impact. One of the questions I think, and help me here, Derek, that he asked was, if we were to write an article in our local newspapers, what should the byline be for that article? Or what should be, what's it, the title should be for that article to attract people to read it and then sign up for our branches?
Oh, that was
And
the headlines, yes.
Yeah, what the headlines are, what the headline ought to be for an article in a local newspaper about us. And they came up with a whole bunch of really, really good headlines.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't track back some of those that I did because, as I say, I've got so many of them, but I'll try and recover it.
But we're trying to use a lot of this, and what we're also trying to do is to take it and then come up with really good words that we can pass out to all the branches and have them use them effectively, either with their own people or with some public media in a way. And we want it so that we're all saying the same things. Who is Sir? Why should you join? Why should someone younger join? What is in it for them? And you can ask these questions and get great words back. And then we would like to pass that out to you. And one of the ways we're doing, I don't know whether Rich Carlson's on, he's coming out with these recipe cards, and they begin to fit with what we're trying to do here. Our goal is to really get more information in the hands of the branches that excite them about being a member, sir, remind them why they joined, and encourage other people to join with them.
And one of the benefits of the way we are producing this information is a branch can edit it to their own needs.
Yep.
Because if you're in Arnold or Walnut Creek or Palo Alto, your needs may be totally different.
Well, how about Modesto and Redding? Completely different than Palo Alto and Walnut Creek. And yet, every branch is unique, and every branch is in its own community. And what that community wants and needs from a senior organization may be different. And that's the tuning that has to go on at the branch easily. And right now it's not easy.
Right. There's a correction from Alan. Thank you for it. ChatGPT has access to the Bing search engine, not Google. Bing is the default search on Edge. So I misspoke there, I guess.
Actually, you don't need any search engine at all.
Yeah, it's embedded. And someone mentioned it before, it was in the paper today, that what Microsoft is doing is putting this capability into Word, into Excel, and into PowerPoint. So you can actually see it creating your own slides, including graphics. It makes the point you want, but you have to tell them what point you want to make, and then it will go and do it for you.
Yep.
I have a question regarding your this generation of software, which is alluded to at the beginning slide.
Yep.
Have you had any experience with that? Have you had experience with HTML, PHP, Java?
Once upon a time, I tried doing web pages in HTML and CSS, and I immediately switched over to WordPress.
I'm asking about ChatGPT.
No, I haven't tried it for any of that. You see, I'm not a programmer in any way. I've never programmed anything. I would have to go to somebody who does programming for a living, probably, and say, how does it work? But what I know is you can you can ask it to create a formula for an Excel question that you need an analysis, or you can give it a complex Excel formula and say, why does this work? Explain it, and it'll do so.
And Heber, you can get a similar thing done with code. If you give it an example of code written in some language, and you ask it to modify that in some respect, it will take an attempt at that. As Derek already explained, it's not always really good, but it's pretty good.
This is Fernando. I tried asking it to give me the file description format for the starting of a COBOL program. And it was actually able to come back and give me the COBOL statements
Oh,
required to create the file descriptions. You know, whether it was going to be a disk format, a card format, or a tape format.
My son works in R&D up at Intel in Hillsboro, Oregon, and they use it to debug software before it gets into firmware and hardware.
yeah, my daughter-in-law is thinking of moving from being a teacher, going back into into industry. She's got an MBA. So she's writing her resumes with the help of ChatGPT. She puts in the basic material and says, please write a cover letter or whatever it is. And it does a pretty good job.
Say, Derek, could you ask kind of a question that's basically feeds back on itself to GPT? That is, what does ChatGPT think of ChatGPT?
A self-examination?
Yeah, would it actually come up with some constructive comments about itself, I guess?
Oh, maybe a question like, what is the best AI product out there today? Would it find itself?
Is there any return for the company OpenAI in allowing the free use of this ChatGPT?
At the moment, they say it's out for research purposes. What they want to do is find out what the problems are with using it. They ask for feedback, and they don't say it's going to be free forever. The ChatGPT 3 and any predecessors have been open software. GPT-4, I read today that there's they've made it closed. You can't get in and see what's in there. And they're not telling us how much data they got and where they got it from. So they may well, I would guess, put some cost on that, or because Microsoft has put so much money into it, maybe Microsoft doesn't want everybody else getting it for free.
You see some of it today embedded in some products. If you use some products, they try to guess what the next word is you want to write.
Yeah.
And that's an example based upon your writing history and what most people would say next.
I saw because I do WordPress for the website, I found out there was an AI plugin. And apparently, if you set it up correctly, you can use that plugin to give answers on anything that's on your website. So, for example, if we had an FAQ website for training big sirs with everything they need to know, they wouldn't, a big sir who wanted to learn from it wouldn't have to delve into the depths. They would just type in the question and bingo, there would be the answer. But I haven't got that working yet, but I think it's got great potential.
They were talking today in the paper about the fact that you could ask an AI program to look at all of your email and pick up and summarize all the things that Alan Baker has written. Alan, you saw the note, I guess, Alan.
Yes, I would like to mention that it's about an hour and a half into this. So if for those who would like to call it a night and have other commitments, then I would encourage you to go ahead and bail. Andy's recording this, and we will have it posted on the sirinc.org website in a few days. And it will be under the webmaster information if you're looking for it. And in the subsequent meetings, I'd encourage anybody here to bring forth a tech topic that can be shared with the group. As you can tell from today, we're pretty open to all sorts of topics. So we'll close the meeting at 5:30. but you're welcome to stay on the line a little longer. And if Derek, and Andy, you're willing to stay on, we'll ask some more questions.
I think Jim left. Jim's been a big user. I don't know. Have others of you tried this? What have you tried? Raise your hand if you've tried, so we see you.
I think Alan was saying he has.
I have.
Lee, have you done it?
I actually did it while we've been on the phone here, so,
What'd you
but in all
learn?
honesty,
What do you
pardon
think?
me?
What did you learn?
Well, I found it was really, very interesting. To start with, I work on an Apple device quite a bit, so, I check to see, you know, is there an app for that? And apparently there is an app for that. Interestingly enough, on the Apple app, you don't go into it and get in. It doesn't provide you access immediately to a free project or a free program. It's $40 a year. So then I just opened up my Chrome browser and went to the same Chat Online webpage that you did, created a login, and boom, I asked it a question to plan a skills practice for a 12U baseball team. And it immediately spit out a pretty decent schedule, something that, you know, looked very similar to the things that I would do. So I picked something that I was knowledgeable about because I wanted to see what the answers were going to be. Thought it was rather interesting, and just as Derek was demonstrating, it spit it out real quick. Now on the Apple device, all I did was copy it, paste it into Notes, and then I paste it into Google Docs. Again, I don't use Word. I use Google Docs for everything. But the nice thing about Google Docs is you can convert every Google Doc into a Word document. So just like in Sheets, you can convert it into an Excel spreadsheet,
yeah,
and you can do all the same editing. Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments for the group that you'd like to put forward? In that case, thank you so much, Derek.
You're very welcome.
It's been a real education for all of us. And this could be a really, as you said, game-changing tool for SIR. If we learn how to use it and we put it to work, it could really make a difference. So thank you all, and especially to Derek and to Andy for your help. And we look forward to seeing you again next month.